In this lesson, I want to talk about how to implement multiple interfaces. So you can implement more than one interface on a class, which means that the class has to satisfy the contract, or rather must implement the members, the properties and methods inside of the interface in order for it to implement that given interface. In Inheritance 17, I'm giving you a before folder and an after folder for this lesson. So if you open up the before folder, you'll see what I see on screen right now, which is kind of an expansion of what we were working on previously in Inheritance 16, the previous lesson. This time you can see that I've added a t-shirt and a snack. And that I've also added two additional interfaces, shippable and taxable. So in this particular case, we may want to kind of extend our example a little bit here by not only calculating or printing out the receipt, essentially, that the transactions are complete, but also calculate tax for those taxable items and then shipping for those shippable items. All right. So you can see here at this point, I've added instances of snack and t-shirt and added them to our overall transaction, and I'm calling complete transaction on all these items. Let's go ahead and just see what we get right here at the outset. And it's starting to look like a receipt, right, where we've paid for an appointment, purchased a book, a snack, and a t-shirt. All right, very good. So what we need to do, though, is implement a tax for certain items. Suppose that only our t-shirt and our book are taxable. All right, so in order to enable that, what we're going to do is implement the iTaxable interface on book and t-shirt. And to do that, we're going to go on the same line right after the first interface that we're implementing and implement a second interface by using a comma and then a space and then the name iTaxable. All right. Now, when you do that, you see the red squiggly line, no alarms. Remember, that just means that we need to actually implement that interface. So I'm going to hit Control period on the keyboard and implement the interface. And now look what it did. It added right here underneath our existing properties a tax rate, and then underneath our existing methods a tax method. So let's go ahead and make this an auto-implemented property, get rid of all this other nonsense. And then in here, what I want to do is something simple. Let's just say console.WriteLine, and we're going to make some spaces here. Tax rate, like so. I'll go ahead and print that out, and maybe we'll print out the actual amount too here in a moment. So in this case, what we'll do is actually take and calculate the tax. So var tax equals, I don't know. Let's just take the price times the tax rate. That should give us the tax, right? Hopefully. And then I should be able to print that out here. So we'll just go tax, like so. And let's do the same sort of thing for the t-shirt. So let's go iTaxable. Implement that interface, Control period, change up our auto-implemented property here, and then I'm just going to yank this implementation and put it here. There's nothing special per se about it. We might even look to refactor that at some point so that we're not doing this over and over, but that should work. Price and tax rate, that all looks good. Okay. So now at this rate, what we'll need to do is actually add a tax rate. And it may not make sense to add these individually. Maybe there's some other class that implements tax. I don't know. I just want to show this example of multiple interface implementation. So let's go 0.0825. That seems like a good tax amount. And maybe with the t-shirt, we'll do, since it's clothing, maybe we'll go 625. I don't know. Maybe it's a little bit different. Okay, so now what we need to do is actually calculate the tax. Now, I realize that in order to return back the tax amount, I'm going to need to change up my interface. So this is a good time to talk about making changes to interfaces. In this case, we're just saying, hey, you don't need to return anything from this tax call, but now I'm going to say, yeah, you do need to change it. It needs to return a double. When I do that, you'll notice that, let's go ahead and save it, you'll get a red squiggly line underneath the two items that implement iTaxable, and the reason is because they no longer implement the interface correctly. It doesn't have, it scrolls off to the right-hand side, but it cannot implement iTaxable tax because it does not have the matching return type of double. So that's easy enough to fix. We'll just go here, return double, return tax, and that should fix the problem, right? Same thing is true with the other one. So here we'll make tax return double, and then we'll just return tax like so. And now what we'll need to do is pass in only those items that implement iTaxable. So this is where things get a little bit tricky, and there's some different design patterns that we could employ to maybe do this a little bit more cleanly, but I'm going to go ahead and brute force this. So I want to pull off all of the items that are taxable. And to do that, what I'll have to do is I'm going to go var taxable equals a new list of iTaxable. Now I'm going to for each my way through each of the items that we have so far, and we know that they're just purchasable. But if that item implements or is iTaxable, then what I want to do is go taxable.add item, like so. And then what we'll do is go var tax amount equals calculate tax, passing in my taxable list. I should call it taxable items. That might look actually better and make more sense. I'm getting a little bit of a complaint here. It doesn't like the fact that it only knows that item implements iPurchasable, but I'm trying to add it to a strongly typed item called taxable items. So what I should be able to do is use the as iTaxable, and it should satisfy that. All right. As you recall from our previous discussion, the as keyword says treat this item as if it were this other type. So I know that we've already tested to see that it is of that type. We just need to say if it is of that type, then treat it like that type for the purpose of our list of iTaxable items. Okay? Don't treat it like an iPurchasable, which is the only thing we know about it up to this point, but we're confident that it implements iTaxable, so treat it like iTaxable and add it to the taxable items. Great. All right, so the next thing that we'll need to do is actually set tax plus equal, well here, let's do a for each item in items, and then we'll go tax plus equals item dot tax, like so. And we should return the tax amount. So let's see what our total tax amount is. Let's go console.writeLine. And we'll go total tax amount. And then we'll put the tax amount here. And we'll need to add the string interpolation character like so. All right. So let's see what we have so far and run our application. All right. So it looks like we said that our tax rate is correct, and we've added up these two values and got a tax amount of $5.68 for our entire transaction. Okay? Very cool. So you can see how we've implemented two interfaces. And I tell you what, let's stop right there because I'd like you to have some experience with this on your own. And so I'm going to take this example and issue a challenge for you to extend it even further with shippable items. And it's going to be very close to what we did with taxable, but you're going to implement shippable. And then what we'll want to do is determine the final amount here inside of complete transaction. So we'll need to change some things around there as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and stop the recording and stop talking right now, and we'll pick it up in the next video. Thank you.